At a time when there is so much of buzz about cricket, the country now completely soaked in the IPL fever, we would like to talk about Indian football and discuss about where Indian football is heading to, given the fact that only recently, in an AFC qualifier match, India had drawn with Bangladesh in a goalless match. But that is only a trigger point. Last year had been dismal for Indian football. In fact, a win came after 489 days in Shillong in a friendly against Maldives. Joining us is somebody who has seen Indian football very closely, somebody who is closely associated with the Indian Super League right from its inception, Mr. Mandar Tamhane. Uh, you are the CEO of Northeast United. You were the CEO of Bengaluru FC. Indian Super League, when it came in, everybody said, let's football. A decade has passed. Where is Indian football now? When I ask you, I'm talking about what it was before ISL and to what it is now. The road ahead in Asia, the road ahead globally is still far, but what we have achieved.
I think it's better to look at the positive side of things. I said when the ISL started 10 years back to where we are right now, I think there has been a great jump in terms of the quality of football that we play in the Indian Super League. I think there is an influence of a lot of good coaches that has come in. There's influence of certain good players that have come in. I think our Indian players have now got accustomed to play in different styles or different ways of a coach. Any coach coming in with a different strategy, they are now aware of the way of style to play. So I think this tactical and technical awareness is something which I have seen has improved a lot. Although it may not be showing us in the results for the national team, but I still feel that it's a big jump from what it was before to what it is now. Obviously, the ISL has also gotten a lot of professionalism in terms of how a professional player should think that he's a professional player. I mean, what I mean is, just because you're getting paid doesn't mean that you're a professional player. You need to be behaving also like a professional player with regards to what you eat, how well you rest. So I think that sort of an awareness at a professional level has also, increased since the ISL has started. I think the way we conduct the matches, the way the whole broadcasting is happening, I think that also has creates a big impact. Now it's about how the quality on the pitch will further improve, and that somehow or the other has to get converted in the performance on the national team, because let the ISL do as good as possible, let the I League do as good as possible, but unless and until the national team does well, I think that's the main thing, and we want the national team to do well. So I think the focus should be now to ensure that through all these positive things, how can we ensure that the national team gets better and better.
Talking about the national team, one critic, particularly among the fans, have been the fact that we haven't been able to score. We're still dependent on one of our star striker who has returned from his retirement. And the critic is that many of the ISL clubs would not like to play a Indian striker.
Yes.
You yourself run a club.
Yes.
How do you take it? And is there a way where in competitive football in a league like ISL, where their stakes are so high, clubs can look forward to Indian strikers?
No, I think from a club's perspective, I think if we have to say that the clubs are ensuring that the spine of the team is mainly made of the foreigners, then it's a fact. Is that a mistake? If you look at a very Indian point of view and a short-term thing, yes, it's probably a mistake. But as you rightly said, the stakes are so high. The money spent is so much that it is important for all the owners to ensure it's a result-oriented thing. So then how can you try and bridge that gap, so to say? So I feel that uh, all the clubs need to focus at a very youth level to ensure that you are preparing the next Sunil Chetri. You cannot prepare the next Sunil Chetri at the age that the players are right now playing for the national team. There has to be an ample and more focus on the youth level. it has to be groomed. They need to be playing as many matches as possible. Unfortunately, our under 13 and under 15 barely get to play 10, 12 competitive matches throughout the season, where if you similarly compare the situation for that age group in Europe, they're playing 50, 60 games. So if that game awareness and if the thought process is gone to nurture these people at a young age, I think it will you will get the necessary people, whether it's a striker or a midfielder, and then probably even the ISL clubs or I League clubs would want to then see. But the thing is that you cannot push them if that quality isn't there, in terms of when you have the option to have a foreigner, because the stakes are very high. As far as the national team is concerned, I mean, at the end of the day, I look at things that yes, we need good strikers. More than strikers is the attackers now, because all your wingers also now are ones who are responsible for scoring goals. Sunil at Bengaluru FC started as a wing. I mean, he was a striker, but he played as a winger, and then he still became the highest goal scorer. So the game is also evolving. We need to ensure that we just don't look at that number nine, number nine. Okay, if we don't have a striker, can there be a way where we can have the wingers come in and be effective in the goal scoring? I think these are the things which are very technical, but I think I'm pretty sure the coaching staff or the coaches are aware of that. But if you have to improve a certain position of a player, or ensure that there are many such players in that position whom the pool is larger for the coaches to select from, I think the work has to be done at a grassroots level. It has to be done at a youth level, and dedicated focus approach from a long term vision, and sticking to that vision is necessary.
Talking about grassroots, you have been somebody who's been, vastly experienced in terms of grassroots. You started it with Bangalore. You brought that same concept and improved it at Northeast United. Talking about the grassroots level, how do you see the grassroots preparations now going on different stages? There are several academies. Also, involvement of governments. Uh, Northeast India is seen as the powerhouse of football, but many of the Northeast players themselves actually go out of the region in the academies which are outside, play there, and subsequently play in clubs outside. So, do you think that there has to be a ecosystem build up here now at the grassroots?
No, I think primarily Northeast is a sort of a factory which produces players, not just for the clubs within the Northeast, but the rest of the country also. Yesterday, if you see the squad of 23, we had 11 players coming from the Northeast. So that's a big number. So we know the talent is here. Now the idea is to how to further nurture the talent, how we can try and keep the best talent within the Northeast if possible. But if not, if there are other better options for these players, there's no harm in going and playing outside also. But for that, we need to have an ecosystem where they can have a pathway to sort of create their own professional careers, either with the clubs in the within the Northeast, or then possibly outside. Um, Important that in Northeast, it's we don't have a lot of industries or corporates as of now. There are a lot of them that are coming in, so hence the governments of different states will play a very important role in terms of any development that has to happen for the sport within the region. And for me, if we have to have a grassroots and a strong youth development, there are three factors that make a huge difference. One is infrastructure, second is quality coaching at a youth level, and three is competition. So if these three sort of verticals are looked after, then I think the player pathway or the development of players or the output that we get quality players will definitely improve. We need a lot of residential academies, we need a lot of competition. We want 50, 60, 70 matches to be played, and it's very difficult for a, say, even an association, say a state association for that matter, or the AIFF, or even clubs like maybe Northeast United, or I League clubs like Shillong Lejong or Azol FC, to fund completely on their own to do it. So that's where the government will play a very important role. And so far I've interacted with 4 governments, and I've had a tremendous response from them in terms of their willingness to do something, because at the end of the day, the sports at is one place. The other factor also that we need to look, specifically looking at the dynamics of the region, is sports is very popular amongst the youngsters here. Also this region, there are a lot of other vices that these youngsters get involved into, whether it's the drugs, whether it's sort of militancy, insurgencies, etc. So if we can channelize the youth at a very young age through a sport which they like, then I think the energies will be used in a positive way. And likewise, a few of them who are talented enough will have the next step to go. So I think this is the model that we want to work at Northeast United Football Club with the governments, and so far I think we've got a very very good support from various governments that we have reached out so far.
In fact, talking about this model, Northeast United and the government of Meghalaya
Yeah.
is coming up with a Center of Excellence
Yes.
Academy. This is perhaps a very unique a football club government partnership
Yes.
in this country.
Yeah.
Tell us about this project.
No, I think first of all, we have to give a lot of credit for this to the Honorable Chief Minister Shri Conrad Sangma. I think is his initiation that is we are able to do this partnership. I think he's got a very clear vision for the state when it comes to the youth. I think music, we have seen a lot of concerts happening here, and football per se as far as sports is concerned. Obviously other sports also, because the national games are now going to happen in Meghalaya, but football per se is something which he has identified as something that he wants to engage in, and the leadership is so strong that it is helping us also with the various engagements that we are doing with them. In one of our conversations, I suggested, because when the Durand Cup happened, we saw the kind of fan parks that were done and the kind of response with the fans. The tickets were sold within minutes online, and then we had long lines for the people to buy the tickets also. So there's a lot of interest. Any sport is going to be successful because of the fans that come in and to the stadium and watch. So if that presence is here, we were saying, why can't we make Shillong the football capital of India? And that's how the conversation started. And for it to have a to be be actually happening as a football capital of India, you need to have the ISL. I League is anyways here. We needed to have the ISL here. We need to have the national team come and play here. And within the year, we have had the Durand here. We had anyways the I League was already here with Shillong. We got the 3-4 matches ISL for here, and obviously the national team has played one friendly and one important game against Bangladesh. So I think sort of Shillong has now come on the map of Indian football, and there is a lot more to do. So that's one aspect of it. Second aspect of it is the development aspect, which I feel is very important, as I mentioned previously. And I think again the leadership with the Honorable Chief Minister has given us allocated 15 acres land for us for the Center of Excellence in the new Shillong that is coming. Also, he has plans to build a 40,000 capacity stadium, which again will change the whole. It will be the probably the biggest football dedicated stadium in the country. So the leadership is is focused to make that meaningful contribution when it comes to the highest level also, as well as the grassroots level. Plus the state government is also working on the mission football, which they call for Meghalaya. So we are contributing right from the grassroots level. They've got around 13 artificial pitches installed in the various districts of Meghalaya, which I have not seen anywhere in the country. So that's where again the focus of the government is. Now the infrastructure is there. Now we, with our understanding of the sport or the professional way of working, we want to have small centers in all these 13 centers for the state. Then we gradually have the further funnel it to a residential academy when we bring it here. So there has to be a pathway for every level of playing. You just cannot have at the highest level. You need to have at the grassroots where everybody wants to come and play. Whether they're good or bad, they just want to enjoy the sport. So you have to give access to them. Then you have to have the little elite which are better and have got the potential. Then you have to create a system for them. And then obviously for the professional side, whether it's for an ISL club or an I League club or an I League 2 club, similarly for women's football also we need to focus on. And apart from that, this the player side, you also have to look at the coaching side also, because you have the infrastructure. If you've got 14 training fields, there'll be that many amount of players playing, so that needs to be supported by the relevant coaches. So ensuring that the coaches from within the state, with the help of the Meghalaya Football Association, we have to ensure that their licenses are also done, whether it's a D license or the C license. So this whole ecosystem needs to be developed on its own, and it can happen with infrastructure, it can happen with good coaches, and it can happen with competition. And I think the leadership here is very very strong, very very focused, and I think the full credit should definitely go to the Honorable Chief Minister Sri Conrad Sangma.
And lastly, my last question is on Northeast United, a club which belongs from the region. Previous few ISL season where didn't go well. The club also faced a bit of disconnect with the fans. In the last 2 seasons, the club seems to be reviving. And one interesting mix that we have observed in Northeast United is the fact that apart from having foreigners, you also have some very young Indian players. Perhaps Northeast United is one team which has brought in a lot of players from the reserve team.
Correct.
So how do you see the road ahead?
No, I think the road ahead is positive. There is a lot of more work that we want to do. As you correctly said that previously Northeast United's representation in the Indian national team was barely minimal. Now we have almost 4 players which are in and out of the national team. Gurpreet and McCartan were there in the national team squad. We had Jitin as well as Parthib a part of that. We've got 2 players from our reserve team which are part of the India under 16. We've got 2 players from our reserve team. We're part of the India under 19. So I think within the 2 years we have tried to build that ecosystem where we are relying on good scouting, we're relying on good coaching, and we are relying on giving them as much competition as possible. So this year, for example, our reserve team has already played 45 games, including we played in Mizoram in the Independence Club, we played in Ladakh at the Climate Club, we played in Sikkim in the Governors Gold Cup, we're playing the Reliance Developmental League. So the idea is to have again right coaching, right infrastructure, and supporting it with competition. So with that, I think that's what the change has brought about, with seeing these youngsters being able to make a mark or so in sort of Indian football. Uh, but this, I think, is can be done anywhere because the talent is there. It just needs to structure for that talent to be channelized into the right pathway. And I think for me, uh, wanting to come to Northeast Football Club was this as a primary reason, because there's enough and more talent available, and if we can bring in good systems and processes in place, we can have a lot more players to play, not just for Northeast United, but going forward for the Indian national team. So the pool becomes bigger. So I think that's the focus that we have had. Results with the senior team will happen, but the idea is to focus on the process. If I go finding the results, I will compromise on the process. So the results are the outcome of the correct process that we are doing, and I believe in that, and I think we'll continue doing that going forward.
Thanks a lot for this interview. All the best to you, the club, and we hope that the national team also keeps winning matches, and that's going to help Indian football.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.